And welcome back. Now let's take a look at matters politics. At the tail end of the program, as you always know, we consume politics on Good Morning Kenya. All right. Earlier on, we went through the front pages of our local dailies. What is happening? The president camped at the mountain in Nanyuki with his young cabinet, trying to craft the way forward for this government and how he intends to achieve all the pledges he made during the campaign trail. And the president said that he will make sure that all the campaign pledges that he made will be accomplished. Now that is according to him. And today I just want us to take a look at some of the issues the president talked about. And he had his ultimatum to his cabinet members. As that was happening, Raila Odinga also said that he wants president to bring back BBI or forget about changing the law to accommodate the office of the official opposition. That is something that will be unfolding in the coming days and weeks as far as politics is concerned. And again, Raila stars Azimio with Uhuru claims, with some people claiming that the former president is too quiet, that sometimes or somewhat bring a lot of disquiet in the Jubilee party. So some of them are calling on the former president, who is the Jubilee party leader, to break the silence. With me in studio, I have got Francis Kavyu, Wambua, who is MCA Kinanie-Mathatani ward in Machakos County. Mheshimiwa, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
How is Machakos doing?
Machakos is doing well. Last week on Friday, we were able to approve the budget for the year 2022-2023, which we hope is going to set the ball rolling in terms of ensuring service delivery to the people of Machakos becomes a reality. Yeah.
What's the estimated budget for the next financial year?
It's around 12.6 billion. Yeah.
With priority given to which sectors?
Of course, health, agriculture, and also quite a substantial amount has been set to mitigate the current drought situation in the county. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I hope the governor did not have a hard time, as MCAs in other counties are giving the governor some hard time. Kabira Mongaza.
In Machakos, one of the resolve that we have made is that as long as what we are pursuing is of benefit to the people of Machakos, we are supporting one another 100%. So there was no a lot of friction, because as the legislative arm of the county government of Machakos, we understand our role, and we made a resolution that this third parliament assembly of Machakos is going to be a little bit different, and we want to support the governor to deliver and at the same time performing our role of oversight. Yeah.
Before we get to the main discussion, what did you make of this idea that MCAs are used to settle political scores with the governors?
I think it's something that should not be happening, but unfortunately we have seen it happening in some of the counties in Kenya. But I think for devolution to work, there has to be harmony between the executive and the legislative arm of the county governments. And I believe that there are better ways of solving the differences, unlike what we saw transpire in Meru in the last 2 weeks. So, and in my own opinion, I think the issue of impeaching the Meru government was a premature one, because just 3 months into the office, no even funds that have been released for any work to be done in the county. So I think people need to accept that on August 8th, the citizens made a decision and give at least the people who are elected by the people some ample time to deliver. Maybe 1 year, 2 years down the line, that will be the ideal time people to start questioning whether a particular person who was elected to a certain office is delivering or there is hope of them delivering. But 3 months down the line is a little bit too early, according to me.
I think it was also important because if you're an MCA, you're an MCA of the Republic of Kenya, and every law that you make at the county assembly affects one county or another. Now, the Raila Odinga says that bring up BBI or forget changing law. According to him, Odhiambo says that Kenya Kwanza introducing constitutional amendments illegally. In essence, what Raila says that he's not ready to take up that role of the official opposition. But if they want to have a conversation, first of all, revisit the document. I don't know what you make of this.
This takes us back to just a comment that I'd made earlier. When we talk matters of BBI, the biggest question should be who will be the biggest beneficiary. If BBI comes back to play, is it going to make Kenya better in terms of economy? Because our biggest problem and priority at the moment should not be about catering for the office of the opposition leader. It should be about how we're going to make life better for the ordinary mwananchi, because we all agree that the situation is not right as it stands now. We are grappling with high rate of inflation, food shortage, and also most part of the country have been largely affected by drought. So those are the issues that we should be discussing. But I do also support the idea of that president brought up about setting up a functional office of the opposition, because for any government to deliver and to perform its mandate properly, there is that need for a proper checking of the government. But as it stands now, it's not very clear who is supposed to play that role, because we have Dr. Stephen Kalonzo is also claiming that he's the official opposition leader. Raila is also there. And we have the former president is also the chairman of the Azimio coalition. So,
of course, there's also Martha Karua as well.
And there's also Martha Karua. So I think the president was right when he alluded that there is need for the creation of that office. But BBI, we saw it came the other day, and at some point the idea collapsed. So if what the former prime minister is advocating for is for BBI to come and change the life of Kenyans, then it's okay. But if it's about catering for a few people, then I think it's an idea that can wait. And I think the biggest challenge we have now is not about amending the 2010 constitution. It's about looking at to what extent have we been able to adhere to the constitution, because if people are not working and abiding by the law, then even if we amend it or have a fresh new document as a constitution, it only becomes a document. It only makes sense if the people who are in leadership, from the president to the lowest level, that is the MCA, if we are able to work by the laws, then the law makes sense. But if nobody is willing to follow the law and abide by it, then amending it will just be an academic exercise that is not going to help the country move forward.
Do you think that former Prime Minister is trying to push the president to a certain corner? Because if you bring back BBI, the president opposed BBI, and then now if you want to change the law, bring back BBI, the president opposed it. This would mean that you'll have to bring it back in the first place you're not okay with it, this would push the president to make certain changes that he actually did not support in the last year, that is.
I think the former Prime Minister has always been very tactical, and he knows one way of ensuring that the current regime that is led by Dr. William Samoei Ruto doesn't realize the goals and the promises that he made to the Kenyans people. One is to make sure that there is maximum distraction, and somehow bringing back the idea of BBI, which the current president was firmly against it, is one of way of trying to ensure that he never settles down and plan and probably execute and actualize the agenda that he has for the country of Kenya. So it's up to the current government to weigh the option and see what are some of the critical things that needs to be introduced, and also the cost implication of bringing back the issue of BBI. I think it's something also we need to take into account. What we need now is to see every shilling that is available, how can it be utilized to make the life of Kenyans better. So in my own opinion, I think BBI is something that can wait
so
for
in this
the
case,
moment.
Who do you think is going to blink first? Because the president is hell-bent. Once Parliament resumed, that this bill is going to be taken to Parliament for various processes, for that office to be created. And here we are, Raila Odinga is also coming back, with these ultimatums.
Well, the best thing is that the Parliament is independent, and also the former Prime Minister is not part of the Parliament. So as the legislative arm of the government, if they see it fit to have that amendment done to accommodate, to ensure that the government is well checked, then I think it's an amendment that we will welcome. And also, I think some of the things that the former Prime Minister is agitating for can be actualized even without having to go the BBI way. So we just need to look at the Constitution. What are some of the clauses that needs to be looked at to accommodate all those issues? And I think that is something that can be achieved through the Parliament, other than taking the country. We just came from an election that was hotly contested, and also a lot of fund went through that path. So introducing a BBI that we will need will still be putting the country into a campaign mode. So probably this year and probably part of next year, so you find that the government will have very little time or no time, and you understand by the third year, those who are interested in campaigning for 2027 will be going back. So it will be another 5 years.
But some of them have already started.
Yes, some have already started. And if you are keen, 2017, immediately we had the repeat election. The country never ceased or moved away from the campaigning mood. It was 5 years of campaigning, and I think it's something that we need to avoid, because when every week, every month, we are talking of politics, this one is saying this, and for the sake of the nation, we just need to calm down and reason together and stop giving people ultimatum.
All right. The president was in Nanyuki for 4 days retreat with his cabinet, government officials, some technocrats, advisors, etc., just to chart way forward for this, the new regime. What do you make of that? Some people are saying that the new cabinet is formed majorly young people. When you bring in the new cabinet secretaries, some of them have never held such positions before, and the president is now putting pressure on them to deliver. What do you make of that?
I think the current composition of the cabinet that was appointed by the President William Ruto, yes, some of them might have not had the prior experience, but some of them, to a large extent, they have been part of the previous governments, and at least they have a hint of what is supposed to be done. And like, for instance, for myself, it's my first time as a member of county assembly, but that doesn't mean being a first timer doesn't equate to lack of capacity to deliver. So if these people are given ample time and the right support, we believe they have what it takes to steer Kenya and their respective docket to the right direction. Yeah.
The president called upon them to ensure that they clear their desks at least once a day. No file is allowed to be left unchecked on their files. Perhaps this is a complete departure from the previous regimes, where you find that cabinet secretaries were not delivering, cases still pending before various ministries, and that would spill over to the next regime. Again, pressure on them to deliver?
Yes, and I think that's the direction we should all be going, because we need to move away from these characteristics of where people normally see government offices and dockets as a place where you go for an holiday. So, and mostly it's normally dependent on who is at the top.
Yes.
If the president means business, his entire cabinet will also take it the same way, and also the parliament will also come out in full force to support. So there is a saying from a tribe that I normally come from that says, a court will always take the shape of the wearer. So if the president means business, even the people around him are also going to deliver, because they is the role model. So if he does a lot of talking with less action, then it will also trickle down to the lowest unit of the government.
Do you see the current cabinet clocking the 5-year cycle intact?
I don't want to be pessimistic, but the president himself was very clear. If people are not going to deliver on what they have been assigned, I think he said himself that he will not hesitate to fire people who are not delivering. So it's not about an issue of being intact. You are appointed for a specific role. There are key deliverables that you are supposed to deliver to the people of Kenya. And if the president feels that you are not delivering the mandate that he appointed you to do so, then I think he'll be left with no choice. So the only person who has a tenure of office is the president and maybe his deputy. And these other people are appointed, and you are normally appointed for a specific purpose. So, like for instance, yourself, there is a mandate and a purpose why
I'm here.
You are here. So the moment you fail to deliver that, I don't think the corporation will be interested in keeping you around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what would that be, for the president? The ripple effect, the political side effect to that?
This is Kenya, and if you are in a position and the next day you are fired, most likely it's that the ripple effect will be that there will be opposition, because in Kenya, I think we are still not there, because today, if as Francis I'm appointed to a government role, when I fail to deliver and probably action is taken against me, there is normally this notion that the people from where I come from, Machakos,
are targeted.
It will now stop being Francis who has not delivered. Then it becomes the issue of people of Machakos. Them forgetting that when I'm appointed and I'm not delivering, they are also victims. But I think it's our prayer that one day we'll come out of from that that culture of mtu wetu, because we need to see if I'm appointed for a national role or any government position, I need to deliver without having to drag my community or the people that associate with me whenever action are taken against. But we are hopeful that they are going to work and deliver the promise
and
that
of course,
they made to Kenya.
Your party leader is also a member of the cabinet.
Yes.
I believe you're getting some lessons from him as well.
Yes, and I think Dr. Alfred Mutua, he has a history of delivering, and as a party and also as people of Machakos, we are confident that he's going to do a good job.
All right.
That docket.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
And when you come back, I still want us to talk more on matters national politics and what we should expect this year for this new administration. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back. We're still going on with our conversation here in the studio, just trying to make sense of what happened over the weekend and what we should be expecting the coming days as far as politics is concerned. And I have Francis Kavyu Wambua. He's a member of County Assembly from Machakos County. When you talk about moving forward, I'm quite interested to get your point on this one. What do you really think is going to be the biggest priority for President William Ruto as we start the new year?
I think one of the key priorities should be ensuring that the cost of living comes down, because even after the election, 4 months down the line, Kenyans are still struggling to put food on their table. So that should be one of their key priorities, to ensure that the cost of living comes down, not even if not by a bigger margin, but Kenyans need to feel that relief, because with the drought and also I think most people lost their jobs towards the end of the
corona pandemic.
The corona.
Yes.
So we are looking forward to seeing the president and the government come up with mechanism of ensuring that at least Kenyans are back on their feet, and that also goes to ensuring that the cost of fuel, power, because those are the key drivers that drive the cost of living very high. So we expect the president to ensure that goes down, and also in terms of support to farmers, because we are treading on a very dangerous path. We need to see the government coming with a clear agricultural policy. And there's a very bad trend that is coming up in Kenya, and if we are not very careful, I think we might end up as a country that relies 100% on importing food commodity. Yes. Because everybody is buying land and subdividing it into very small plots for sale. I think you are aware, if you travel outside Nairobi, previously it only used to happen in Nairobi, but if you go on your way to Nakuru, Machakos, Makueni, people are buying tracts of land and subdividing and selling them in small portions. So the question I've been asking myself, once we have subdivided all the land that is available, where will we get that land to do agriculture? And it's fast spreading all the way even up to the other parts of land. So the government needs to come up with a good agricultural policy that will ensure that we have the capacity to produce enough food for our country. And also, I think another key priority will also to reconciliate, because I think the country, we went to an election and we had an outcome, and I still feel that there are some quarters of the country that are still not, have not come into terms with what transpires on it. So I think there is also need to bring the country together. But we must agree that as a nation, we are making steps towards becoming a democratic, mature country, because I think on August 8, everybody was worried on what was going to happen.
But the outcome of that.
I think the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, also played a very critical role. I think you said people are asking that he breaks his silence. But I think he has an assignment. He's busy trying to ensure that he achieves the task that was assigned to him in ensuring DRC Congo stabilizes. So I don't know, those who want him to speak, what they expect to hear from him, because we saw the late President Moi Kibaki, when he handed over power, I think he went and pursued his own things, so that sometimes it's necessary to give the current ruling team space for them to do their thing. And I think if he has to speak, maybe it's when there is need for and a critical matter that is of national importance.
Quite interesting. What did you make of President William Ruto's regime few months into the office?
I think as a person, I'm awful, and I think it's the same case for across the country. People are very optimistic that it's going to make a turnaround in terms of the economy, and also there is that confidence in terms of the institution of the presidency. So with what has been happening, I know some will argue that him scrapping the subsidy programs that were aimed at cushioning Kenyans from the hard economic times. Some will welcome it, some will perceive it as a radical one. But I think what he did was right, but also he needs to come up with mechanism to ensure that that role that was being performed by the subsidy program, Kenyans don't end up bearing the total burden of the ripple effect of the same. But to some extent, I think they are moving to the right direction.
Wishmo, let me read for you an article here very quickly. And it says that Ruto will be crowned Mount Kenya Kingpin. And there's just a lot of reaction to that, and this actually came from the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who said that there will be a complete procession starting. The journey will start from Githurai to Ruiru, Juja. If we reach River Chania, we will stop and pray. We will then move to Kenol, enter Maragua, Muranga, Sagana, Kagio, Kutus, Kirugoya, Kagumo, Kiagai, Karatina, Nyeri, Chaka, and State Lodge, Sagana. But as that is happening, let me read for you another article here, which was written by Jeremiah Kioni, who is now the Jubilee Secretary General. And Jeremiah Kioni said that never in the history of any African cultural or ethnic group has there been a kingpin from another community or even a spokesperson. Therefore, to say you can go and install President Ruto as Mount Kenya kingpin is a fallacy. What do you make of this plan?
I think I'll be more of inclining to what Kioni is trying to say, because what the Deputy President is trying to play is pure politics, and I think if the exercise that they are alleging is going to happen, it will serve more the interest of Gachagua than the president, because Ruto is not interested in being crowned the kingpin of Mount Kenya. Mm-hmm. Mount Kenya has their own culture, and I think they'll be comfortable with someone within who understand their culture well, being their spokesman, because, and also President Ruto doesn't need to be a kingpin to a specific region. He's the president of Kenya. So every region needs to feel, to identify with him. So I think what the deputy president needs to do, if he has interest in becoming the Mount Kenya kingpin, he should pursue it in his own way without trying to bring in the president. Because even I think even in the Rift Valley, I think we have not seen them trying to drag the president and crown him as their kingpin, despite that he comes from the region. So I think what I'll call what they are trying to do is just a political gimmick. Because the whole of this, you raised a very good point, that it's only going to work for the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. Do you think the president is seeing this? Because at the end of the day, the whole of this, procession, the road is going to take, then when they get somewhere, they stop for prayers until they get to Sagana State Lodge. We all know that kingpins are not elected, they are not handpicked, they are not given a specific mandate from particular people. They come out naturally and people follow them. To this effect, do you think Rigathi Gachagua, who is the deputy president, will now do to undo whatever will happen, if at all it will happen, that the president will be crowned as the kingpin? I think I'm still of the opinion, even if they do it, that will just amount to a political gimmick, because it's not about the deputy president initiating or pursuing that cause to crown the president as the kingpin. It's up to the Mount Kenya people to decide whom they want to follow as their leader and their kingpin. And it's also not going to be easy to dethrone, despite that the former president is out of the political scene. I think most of the people in the Mount Kenya region still see him as their leader. And I think that is what the current deputy
But
president...
why the rush, if I may ask you?
I think what the deputy president is trying to do is trying to solidify his political base in the Mount Kenya region. So, and is not courageous enough to come out outrightly and say that he's willing and ready to take up the kingpin or the leadership role of the Mount Kenya region. So he's trying to hide or to maneuver behind the president. Yeah, because, and I will repeat this, I don't think the president himself is willing or is for the idea to be crowned as a kingpin of the Mount Kenya people. Mount Kenya people as a region, from independent, I think they are known and as people who can make their decision and they know who to follow. So if he's interested, he needs to come out courageously and pursue it, because if he decides to pursue it behind the face of the president, then at some time it will backfire on him. And if he pushes the narrative of having the president crowned as the kingpin for the Mount Kenya region, then expect other people to come out and oppose the move and probably even install themselves as the kingpin and say that they are from the region and they feel that the deputy president
But don't you think the deputy president is seeing this move If he is the deputy president and he's bringing the president to be installed as the kingpin, as you're saying it, what if it backfires? And because Mount Kenya will say that we also have our people, we also have men who we can install. But as I said, kingpins are not picked, they are not elected, they come out naturally. And it's the society who will crown you generally to be their spokesperson. What will be the net effect to this if there's some kind of backlash? The deputy president did not install himself, or the community did not install him as the kingpin, and instead they installed the president as a kingpin. Where would that leave the deputy president ultimately?
I think he's also very calculative, and he understands clearly what he's trying to do. And I think in the last 3 days, you've seen him some pictures that were doing round that he was captured praying facing Mount Kenya. I think there's a message that he's trying to send, because the mountain has some significance role in the culture and the history of the mountain region. So, as I've said, the issue of him trying to push and portray that he's advocating for the president to be declared as the kingpin, I think it's a shell that is hiding it. The person who wants to be crowned as the kingpin is the deputy president, not the... So he's just trying to use a long route and trying to test and see what the reaction of the Mount Kenya people will be. Probably is expecting once the people to come out and ask him, instead of bringing the president, we want you as our kingpin.
It's interesting because when you have, quote unquote, an outsider, word, an outsider, the president coming from a different region and being crowned as the kingpin of Mount Kenya, being crowned as an outsider supremo, you'd look at it this way. You all remember the issue of Rudisha Mkono.
Yes.
So I gave you the mantle to be the kingpin. Sasa wewe pia Rudisha Mkono. Don't you see a situation like that repeating itself in years to come?
It will not work.
Why not?
Just observe. Because even if it takes Mount Kenya there, you saw what happened. There was that agreement between the former president and the current president that at the end of your term, you are going to return the favor and hand over the mantle to me. But that never worked. And were it not that the current president was sharp enough to see it not going to happen and moved out to appeal to Kenyans, I think the ultimate power rests with the Kenyan people. So whether the president is accepted as a kingpin in the Mount Kenya region, at the end of the day, the ultimate decision and choice will come from the Mount Kenya people and any other region. It's like now coming to Kambani, and maybe people who are currently supporting the government comes and says that now we want to install you as you are the president, and we want to install you as the kingpin for the Ukambani region. It will only hit news for that day. But at the end of the days, are the people going to accept? There is one thing, the deputy president pursuing it, and also the Mount Kenya accepting it. So I think, and I think our president is above that. He doesn't need to be crowned as the kingpin for any region, including the Rift Valley, where he comes from. Is the Kenyan president, so every region needs to identify with him. So I think the person who needs the kingpin position more for Mount Kenya will be the deputy president. And if he's not courageous enough to come out and tell the people of Mount Kenya, I'm strong enough to take this region to where it's ought to the next level, then someone will rise. And when he will be realizing and coming out to say, then I want to take over the mantle, it will be too late for him.
It will be too late for him, perhaps, to undo what he did.
Yes.
That brings me to that aspect of Kurudisha Mkono, because when just 4 months into office, I gave you the mountain, I went to the mountain, I prayed and, marshaled my people and gave the mantle. Sasa we pia rudisha mkono. But if it doesn't, we have got the democratic side of it and the political side. So that's where the political, block will start hitting one another on the head, because now I gave you the mantle, you led us, now it's my turn now for you to come and rudisha mkono. But as you said, politics in Kenya is a tricky affair. It's a tricky affair. All right, I'm told we're almost coming to an end. I want to give you 2-3 minutes to talk to the people. You said that you're coming to office for the first time.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk to your people.
I think before I speak to the people of Kinanie Ward in Machakos County, I think I would also like to speak maybe on behalf of the entire fraternity of the MCS for Kenya. I think devolution is a good thing, and our appeal as the lowest, not the lowest, but the grassroots representation of the people, I think there has been a lot of discussion on the issue of the CDF. We have also seen the other one, the oversight fund that is supposed to be given to the Senate. But I want to share the sentiment that were echoed by Senator Mandago. I think as the people representation at the lowest unit, we are the people who are very closer to the people, and I would like to make the appeal to the president and even to the parliament. As they do that review, I think the idea of the ward fund in Kenya becoming a reality, that is something that needs to be looked at, so that the ripple effect of devolution can be felt at the lowest level, because I know our biggest role is oversight and legislation, but the Kenyan people, the expectation is that they have their uncoded expectation to the MCS. When they see us, they see a bad road in your ward. They think of the MCS. Some of them even don't think of the governor. When their children lack school fees, they run to the MCA, because we are the only people who are closer to them, and they are the people that they can reach us. So I think it's an idea whose time has come, and we'd like to make an appeal to the president to see what can be done to make sure that the office of the MCAs are empowered, so that the real fruits of devolution can devolve to the lowest grassroots level.
That would seem like a duplication of role. If you have, constituency development fund, we have, governors also here, and then you also have MCAs. There's too much for the taxpayers to bear.
It's not a duplication, because the only percentage that goes to the county governments around 35%.
Yes.
So, and a lot of work is at the grassroots level. So I don't see any challenge with us devolving more funds, bringing funds closer to the mwananchi. So we are not asking for the 75% that remains at the national government.
So that's also that you also need part of the 75% to go to the ward development fund.
Yes, because it's not very clear. If you are keen, you can see what the CDF, how it's transforming lives at the constituency level. So how I want you to look at, how about if we take the funds down closer to the people?
The question is, why don't you also have the same conversation with the members of parliament, so that whatever is given per constituency is also split per ward, for you to help the MPs do their job?
It's a discussion that is there.
Yes.
And I think we'll still continue to pursue it, but it becomes very easy when that is enshrined or there is a regulation that speculates how that should happen. But as it happened, you can have verbal conversation, and this being Kenya, if at any particular point I'm not in agreement with you, you might choose or opt not to make sure things get to the Nini. So that regulation will help eliminate that aspect of the ward representatives being at the mercies of somebody. Because for the constituency fund, because it's a regulation, it doesn't matter whether you're pro-government or the president likes you. It's something that is enshrined in the law. So I find it easier for it.
I believe that's a conversation that we should have for a whole segment for it, because it's a discussion that it's been all over.
Yeah.
And whether it is possible, that would mean a lot of amendments, a lot of legislation for it to take effect, and even, the legal aspect of it as well is also enshrined. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we wish you all the best as you start the new year, and people of your ward as well as Machakos County. Remember, you're the MCA for all Kenyans.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll be speaking to Francis Kavyu Wambua, who is MCA Kinanie-Mathatani ward in Machakos County. We've talked a myriad of issues and what you should be expecting in the coming year. All right. That's where we wrap it up on Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Up next, I can see Wahome somewhere in the periphery. He'll be here shortly with the next news check. Good morning.